It's been 30 years since we've been to Hawaii, and after spending some time on the Big Island, we're now on day 4 of 6 days in Oahu. And today we're visiting the Polynesian Cultural Center. The center is owned by Brigham Young University and consists of 6 villages representing the different cultures of Polynesia. To try and fit it all into one day, we splurged for the Super Ambassador Package, which includes a private tour guide.
The center is actually 42 acres large, so it's really big. It is a walking tour. There is no rush. We have the advantage of just being the 3 of us. We're not in a larger group, and so I'm here to go at your pace.
The first village we visit is Otorora, which is the Maori name for New Zealand. Here we participate in the greeting ceremony, where picking up the leaf represents our friendly intentions.
Before we watch the show, I want to introduce you to this large structure over here. This is called the Buri Kalo. And here in Fiji, this is where they came to worship. Now, unlike a lot of chapels, churches and temples today that allow for everybody to enter, this structure was a little bit different in that it only allowed for 2 people inside. The first person was the high chief. He was kind of like the mayor of the village, if you will. He went in and offered up sacrifices to the gods. So that was fish, different meats, and fruit and veg as well. And that was to gain their favor. And in dire times, they would even offer up human sacrifices. That was practiced up until about 300 years ago. The second person that was allowed into this structure was the high priest, and he was the head of their religion.
Sing, okay, kiti makala salasa. Nibula que besara. Na, hey, oh iya, tantare buat lumayan di sana di bawah lalu di dalam. Kau yang kian dia makan, wanda wanda stakil itu sama-sama. Kau yang kian, kita dua yang wanda kena baru, abiyo hira na ngone na numbai. Kau putih kian, tu putih lagi.
Still in Fiji, we visit the High Chief's hut.
As you observe this photo, what stands out to you?
The big hair.
Big hair, right? That's one of the main features of their high chief system, was that the size of the hair was very important. The larger someone's head of hair was, the more power, authority, status, and intelligence that individual held. So Victor, a little bit out of luck, but that's okay, we're not in Fiji.
I don't know, I used to have hair looking like that.
Really? I believe you. You got a few curls going on. But the larger the head of hair, that meant they had more power and authority. Now that's where the high chiefs slept. The high chiefs would sleep with the head elevated to maintain the size of their hair, maintaining their intelligence, power, and authority.
While still in Fiji, we learn the importance of the tattoo.
So they'd take the bone from an albatross bird, attach it to a wooden handle, and then tap behind that to take away the flesh, then place the ink in. You could only do 1 or 2 lines at a time, but as you grew up and you had different accomplishments, different achievements throughout your life, you'd actually add to those tattoos. So by the time you reached a ripe old age, you wouldn't just have a face full of lines, but a face that told a story. Which one are you eyeing out, Marianne?
I don't know, I don't want that big of one.
So that one he's getting right now actually represents the high chief status. Yeah, everything in that triangle is what we call Polynesia. So it's a region not too many people are familiar with, but geographically it's absolutely enormous. There's actually 600 times more water in this triangle than there is land. But the Polynesians were able to, by boat, find every single one of those 10,000 plus islands.
So was there trade or travel between these
Yes.
cultures?
Yes. That's why there is a lot of similarities, because they did travel, they did trade, and they passed culture on from one to the other.
At 2:30, everyone gathered around the main lagoon for the Huki show.
She is Earth Mother, the mother of all life. She's calling you, calling us, pulling us like a net, bringing us here to La'i.
Look at that hook. It's so big.
It's a magical hook made from the bone of his grandmother.
Her bow?
Yes, and casting it into the ocean. He pulled up the land and it broke into pieces. And that is how our islands arose.
I guess since you can see examples of each culture in their own villages, they can take some liberties with the music on this show. Well, for me, I just thought the modern Western music just didn't really fit in. Not included in one of the villages was an exhibition of the Rapa'uli people and their large stone heads found on Easter Island. While in Tonga, we caught a light-hearted drum show.
We call this haka. We want to say haka. Okay, let's real high motion. Give me a pasi. Ooh, haka. Pasi. Ooh, haka. Pasi. Ooh, and a pasi.
Our ambassador status tickets included a holo holo canoe ride that passed by all the villages.
Before we get into our tour, and I got a big shout out for Aloha.
Aloha!
Hey, you can get tattooed. Oh, I see it. You get it from Fiji?
Yeah, that's where we got it.
Yeah.
Fiji, the tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it all rubbed off when it rained.
In the Hawaiian village, we saw the chief's hut and also the men's eating room, since in Hawaii, men and women always ate separately. We passed on the hula lessons, but visited this fish hut, where I was able to try my hand at a throw net. I would definitely call this first attempt an epic failure, but with a little more help loading it on my arm, my second attempt was more successful.
Perfect circle.
While in Tahiti, we tried our hand at the Tahitian Ori dance.
Everyone say, Your Honor!
Samoa had a lot going on, with an emphasis on the plant of life, the coconut, and making fire.
Yeah, how they make fire is, I don't know if you've seen it, like they rub the two sticks together, and that's how they make fire. Fire! They will let you guys try it yourself.
We definitely thought the highlight of Samoa were the fire dancers. Whoa, did this guy just set his hair on fire? Let's take another look at that. Well, it's time to say goodbye to our student tour guide Raph as we get ready for our luau buffet. So, was the Super Ambassador tour worth it? Well, I think we would have preferred a second day here. There was still a lot of stuff we didn't get to see. But with the reserved seating in the front row every show, and not having to wait in any lines, we definitely saw more than we would have been able to see on our own. Our evening ends with a stage show called Ha, Breath of Life. The story follows a man and his family through the different stages of his life. We learn a little bit of the various Polynesian cultures as he's forced to move and adapt to the different Polynesian societies. It's our last day, and we're visiting the west side of Oahu with a tour called Farm to Forest. Our tour starts off at an organic produce farm in the Lualua Valley. Our tour guide is Nathan, a native-born Hawaiian, and he told us a lot about the first people who settled on the islands.
It was what you call a canoe plant. Like when you folks brought your suitcases, you brought things that you knew you were going to need. But also you guys knew where you were going at least. Polynesians had no idea in the ancient days where they were going on their voyages. But they brought things they thought they might need with them. Bananas, breadfruit, taro, even the coconut's a canoe plant. They brought at least 40 plants with them and a few different animals. They brought pigs, dogs, chickens. Those are all as food sources, by the way. Even Fido, they're all as a food source. And they mistakenly brought rats. That's kind of up in the air. I think they might have brought them on purpose because a lot of other Pacific Islanders will eat rats. Red meat on the islands, very rare. So I think Polynesians brought it with them. And they mistakenly brought geckos also. All the geckos you see don't belong here. They're all mistakenly brought over on the Polynesian canoes. Yeah, no native reptiles at all to Hawaii, at all. So all those other fruits, pineapples, mangoes, rambutan, passion fruit, all came from a Spaniard. Don Francisco Marin, he got here in 1803 actually, and he's the one that planted all those here. He's accredited with establishing 60 different fruiting plants here, all of those. And the first record of a pineapple is in 1813. In his journal, he wrote in that journal that day, "Today I planted an orange and a pineapple." And that's the official first logging of a pineapple ever in Hawaii was 1813 by Don Francisco. That's what you call an ahu, or an altar, or a marker essentially. And they actually found it here. It was just toppled over and they rebuilt it. And it's grown since the year 2000. Everyone who's worked here has put a stone into this ahu. And there's a cool message behind it, because you look at it now, there's a bunch of different sizes, shapes, and colors, but they all come together to make one single entity, and it's all for food here. Because when they make new fields here, they always uncover old archaeological things. Not always, but sometimes. It just goes to show how deep the roots go here. This is where that poi comes from. The taro, or kalo we call it. It comes from the corm directly beneath here. It's a big tuber, like a potato essentially. And it's just that mash of water, that's all it is. But this plant is very sacred to Native Hawaiians. They call it their older brother a lot of the time. And the reason behind that, that big protest on Mauna Kea, anyone seen that in the news? It was really big because that's where our humanity as Hawaiians was pretty much conceived. That's where Wakea, which is the Sky Father, and Papa, who's Mother Earth, they came together on Mauna Kea. That's where heaven and earth touched. And they conceived a daughter. Her name was Ho'oho Kukalani, and she was supposedly very, very beautiful. And So beautiful, in fact, her own father found her irresistible. And there was an incestuous coupling between father and daughter. And they produced a son. And the son's name was Haloa, but he was a stillborn, obviously because of the incestuous coupling. So they buried the dead Haloa into the earth, and for where he was buried, the first taro plant grew. So Hanaho, encore again, father and daughter had a second coupling. They produced a second son, which they also named Haloa. And the second Haloa lived and was able to sustain himself off the taro plant. That's why Hawaiians refer to it as their older brother, because it was here before us. And that's why it's so sacred.
Our next stop is in the Palehua uplands, on some private land owned by Dole. This area is being developed into hiking trails by Nathan's employers, Hawaii Forest and Trail.
This tree fell perfectly, so we figured why not use it. You can see where it fell from.
Oh wow.
So we figured why not use it. You guys don't have to follow me. That's why you go across this way if you want to.
That night we went to the iconic Royal Hawaiian to enjoy a couple of drinks at their famous Mai Tai bar right on Waikiki Beach.